Welcome to Optimal Timelines. My name is Sean, and this is going to be your February 2025 new moon reading. Now, the new moon is going to be taking place at 9 degrees of Pisces. And the way I look at new moons is I look at them as being able to harness the power of cycles, because we're talking about the cycles of the moon phases. Much like if you think about how a sailboat or someone that is sailing is harnessing the power of the wind. Okay, we have the choice to harness that power or not, or like using like a windmill or wind turbine where we're harnessing the power of that, or even like a solar panel when we're talking about the sun. And that's what new moons are for me. Is it's an opportunity for us, if we so choose, to harness that power. Now, the key words for this new moon are imagination, perspective, experience, and abundance. Now, abundance may seem out of place when you don't know, normally we don't think of like abundance in conjunction with Pisces. But if you remember, prior to Neptune being discovered in the mid-1800s, the ruling planet for Pisces was Jupiter, the planet of expansion. But the word abundance is kind of misleading, because when someone says abundance, we think of like an abundance of, material goods, right? But what Pisces really signifies is an abundance of perspective, abundance of imagination, and abundance of experience. And that's what this new moon is all about. So let's pull a tarot card for this new moon and what it signifies. So the card that popped out is the Fool card reversed. Now, this is a card about new beginnings, so it's very interesting that it came up. Now, it came up reversed. One of the things about the Fool card is it's a card not only of new beginnings, but and of fresh starts, but it's of being able to have optimism and see the future in a more positive way. Now, there is this caution that when we embark on something new, we also have to know the pitfalls of those, okay? So there has to be a balance between being able to go out, fresh, like when we're young and we have dreams and we want to achieve those dreams, and we don't think about the possible pitfalls. But the other end of the spectrum would be worrying too much about the pitfalls. So there has to be this balance. And I think this new moon is saying that has to do with perspective, okay? What we were talking about. It's okay to have an abundance of optimism, of imagination, of tapping into, all of those things, as long as we have an abundance of perspective so we can see where we're at. Like, we don't want our focus to be too narrow where we don't see things around us, or we don't want our focus to be too great to where we can't see details. So it's very important in this new moon to have a positive and balanced outlook on what we're embarking on and what we want to achieve in our life. Now let's look at the ancient I Ching divination system. Now, the I Ching hexagram that rules 9 degrees of Pisces is a hexagram that is literally about abundance. And the hexagram talks about the abundance of, like, let's say, looking at the sun at noon, and how it's such a powerful force, right? But it gives an indication that it is a fleeting power, okay? And how abundance is always there, and it comes in cycles, but we have to appreciate it while it's there and harness it, right? Because, the sun is at its strongest point at noon, and then it begins to fade, right? But the sun will always come up the next day. But this is an indication of how we can tap into the abundance right now in our lives and appreciate it. It's kind of like if we think about these like old television shows, like, for example, the reality show of Survivor. and you look at somebody where they've spent, weeks to a couple of months or several months out in the wilderness and haven't had a chance to enjoy some of the comforts of home, which is like a comfortable bed or good food, or they might be craving a cheeseburger, right? You see that a lot. And so when you see someone that is really has done without certain things, when they get that simple thing that they may have taken for granted, maybe a year or so before, they all of a sudden, it's like the greatest feast in the world. And you see this a lot when, you've seen this in documentaries where, people come across, for example, they may be super hungry and almost starving, right? And they come across like a, nutrition bar or like a granola bar, and they hold it like it's the greatest feast in the world. So that's where the perspective comes in, right? So our abundance that we have in our life is we have to appreciate it because it's part of our perspective of how we view things. We may view things as not really important, or we may view things that are in our lives that don't really have an impact. But when we change our perspective and we have a situation that comes up where we're being forced to look at things in a new way, we can all of a sudden see that, oh wow, this really is abundance. And this hexagram is also talking about, again, perspective, and in the sense of abundance of imagination, right? Imagination comes in like, it can be like this inspiration that comes in. And if we don't really harness it, it can, go away. So an idea may come to us, right? So what you want to do during this new moon phase is see where you can harness the power of abundance around you, abundance of perspective, of different experiences that you have, and abundance of imagination. And when you can do that, you can translate a lot of times that abundance into actual physical abundance, okay? So during this new moon phase, think of areas where we are not seeing the abundance around us. Maybe it's the abundance of our own imagination and creativity, or it's the abundance of things that we are not fully appreciating in our lives, the abundance of perspective of how we can view things in a different way, and we can gain different things from those experiences that are around us. And that's what this new moon is. So harnessing that power, just like the wind or like the sun, and getting us to create the most optimal life that we can by doing so. Anyway, I hope this reading was helpful to you and you found some value in it. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again on some more videos.